The time for our day's Dhamma talk. To start the Dhamma talk, may you all consent with 3 times sadhu sadhu sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Evaṁ kirame sampanchannam upadana khandānaṁ sangho sannipato samavayo hoti uttaṁ kopanetam bhagavata yo dhammaṁ passati so paticca samuppadam passati ti. Dear Dhamma friends, today also I got a quotation from the same particular discourse, namely the Hatthipadopama Sutta, and it's a continuation of the same topic yesterday, whereby whenever a visual object come in contact with the sensitive eye, and if the attention is drawn there, then and there the eye consciousness going to happen, and that particular person going to be a seer. And instead, if the sound going to come and strike on the eardrum, and the attention is going to take that phenomena, he or she may become a hearer. Likewise, that arising of this each aggregates are quite spontaneous, and then and there it happens. So as and when seeing happens, the seeing object, or visual object, become your materiality, and the liking and disliking, the very liking and disliking arising, out of that this seeing become your feelings, and this very recognition, whether you have seen this scenery before, or this is auspicious sign, or it is unauspicious, whatever may be, that become your aggregate of perception. Since you are not completely seeing the whole thing, and still you are cognizing and recognizing according to your past memories, therefore there may be a lot of temptations or volitional activities and involvement to either to take that particular thing you have seen, close or reject it, or whatever may be your impromptu response is known as the sankhara khanda, or the mental formations, and the understanding these things separately. This is materiality, this is feeling, this is perception, and this is the mental formation is done by the consciousness. So moment you become seer, depending on that particular adverting, that particular attention, the whole 5 aggregates going to happen then and there. That is the way the Buddha, as well as Venerable Sariputta, is suggesting in this particular discourse. And the moment you also to second this idea, or to experience this very thing, then you will agree with him. Evaṁ kirame sampanchannam upadana khandānaṁ sangho sannipato samavayo hoti. This is the way these 5 aggregates come into being. The manifestation happen then and there. And giving a reference with the teaching of the Buddha, Venerable Sariputta is making a remark. Isn't that the Buddha mentioned, when and where someone is to see this dependent origination, and that is the crux of the teaching of the Buddha. And when and where someone to understand the essence of teaching, that is the point he or she is going to see this dependent origination. So and whenever someone is to observe in seeing, in hearing, in smelling, in touching and tasting and thinking, all the relevant 5 aggregates going to happen, and that is the arising of truth of suffering. Because at the beginning it has given a formula, out of these 4 noble truths, truth of suffering means the arising of 5 aggregates. So when someone to see it, that is the way one is cutting across and see in each seeing, each hearing, and all the senses, sensuous contact, these 5 aggregates going to happen. And when and where it happens, if you manage to not to develop any attachment or hatred towards that, that is the way you can cut off the cause for the suffering. Or otherwise we can say that whenever these 5 aggregates going to manifest through your eye as a seer, or through your ear as a hearer, or other senses like smelling, tasting, touching, or the mind, or untrained mind, unprepared mind, naturally ending up with the value judgment. This is to be attached or this is to be detached, or liking or disliking going to happen. So, untrained mind or uninstructed person will naturally think that attraction or hatred or detraction is embedded in that particular visual object, or this particular sound, or particular smell, or taste, or touch, or Dhamma object, mind object. But this analysis, the Buddha, as well as Venerable Sariputta, is asking us, the object you have seen has no any kind of liking or disliking or any defilement as such, but rather it is something coming from out and impinging upon your visual or eye consciousness. When and where, when that happens, if you are unmindful, the desire or hatred is something coming from in towards this seeing phenomena. So these two are completely contrasting. Visual object is coming from out to the in, to the eye sensitivity. As and when this contact go into place, if you are not keeping guard, if you are not mindful, if you are not vigilant, if you are not diligent, if you are not prepared, if you are do not understand the consequences, then naturally the liking and disliking going to happen. That is the commitment that you do, that is coming out of your underlying tendencies or your influxes or your taints. If you can thin slice the time, when and where you see, when and where you happen to hear or smell or taste or touch, and the Dhamma, the thinking going to happen, if you can see this phenomena as such, there you see the split and the way of escape, or you can make a tunnel out of your prison. You can escape it. So that is the up to that point, up to that much, you have to be very sharp in mindfulness and the diligence, and that may be one gross exercise that you have to do when you are doing the in-breath and out-breath as an object of meditation, or the primary object of meditation. You must understand that air coming from out to in is, we call the in-breath, and when it is going out, we call it is out-breath. So if you can discrete the experience of the air column coming from the out and become internalized as in-breath, and very thing going outward as out-breath, then if you are managing to see the discrete difference, exactly the same thing you can apply in the very, very minute and micro level. Whenever the visual object come and impinge upon the screen of your eye door, that is something coming from out to in. As and when it happens, our mind is always making reification, recognition. That recognition is always mixed up with liking and disliking. That is something coming from in to out. So if you can manage to observe that, then you can understand the visual object itself has no any defilements. It has no any desire or hatred as such. But due to your perception, due to your volitional involvement, due to your lack of mindfulness, and due to your lack of vigilance and diligence, automatically you impose or you recognize it with your past likings and disliking and memory and your character type and all the kind of thing, and ultimately you attribute that very desirability to this external visual object. That is what we call the ignorance. That is what we call the misperception. And it is inherent. That is also not true, I think, because when the children, when they are to see, they have no liking and disliking. They have no any desire or hatred, but luckily or unluckily, parents are training them to have liking and disliking. Teachers also training them to have liking and disliking. That is how the personality or the entity become a girl or boy, a man, and ultimately more and more you become established in your personality, the memory, the liking and disliking and everything. When and where something hit through your eye, door, ear, nose, tongue, whatever may be, immediately you're going to recognize that recognition is always smeared with your past memories and liking and disliking. And therefore the most important thing is to diagnose it and discreetly delimit it, what is coming from out to in, and stop at that level. Don't try to interpret it. Don't try to reiterate reification as to reify the same thing, so that you will see, according to the words of the Buddha, as an eye person with eyes, but your reaction is like a blind person. For example, when someone is taken a snapshot from the camera is doing exactly the same thing like the eye, but camera has no value judgment. It has no any idea whether it is a decent photo or indecent, whether male or female. So exactly when the eye is catching the visual object, if you can stop at that level without recognition, without value added judgment or reaction or assumption, the Buddha is confidently, he says, you can do it. That is the point where we use the mindfulness or diligence or vigilance to the maximum. So therefore the Buddha says, even though you are an eyed person, behave like a blind. Even though you have ears, behave like a deaf. Even though you have the nose, the tongue and the body intact, behave like a person paralyzed. So it appears like negative, it appears like destructive, it appears like something to disqualify yourself, but unless otherwise you do it, you always make a wrong decision. These external objects are arousing sense desire. The external objects are arousing the hatred. the external objects are arousing the doubts, all the kind of things. Therefore, you try to level and shape and discipline the external world. That is what we call the worldly knowledge. Whole science in today is engaged in that. They try to make the world full of infrastructure and full with information technology. They never think about restraining their mind or physical and verbal thing, instead adjusting the outside world. So whole mankind is engaged in it. Before 200 years ago, when the scientific discoveries came one by one, everyone thought we will be developing a utopia or paradise. We will bring it onto the earth by just pushing the button. We can get everything. But we have now enough push the buttons. By 200 years by now, we know how much we have destroyed the ecosystem. How much we have destroyed the ethical values. How much we are destroying our mind. So therefore, people, those who are looking at the problem from the ethical point of view, or mental culture, or from the environmental pollution, we say we have gone backward 200 years. Due to this extrovert adjustment, discipline, instead of making your mind discipline. So it's the common proverb is that if the paths and the world and the others are too much thorny, you can cover it by leather, or instead you can wear a pair of slippers. By wearing pair of slippers, you can do away with all the coverage of the world. Exactly the same thing the Buddha says. Whenever you are sharp enough to see, as and when seeing happens, the hearing happens, whatever may be, you can understand how much the thing come from the outside in, how much the invariably, without your control or sometimes without your understanding or diagnosis, how much things are coming from into the out. So when these things, when they are happening in the very swift manner, so if you can't discriminate, naturally you consider you are very innocent, you are very pure. The only pollutions and the defilements and the bad thing coming from outside. So that is why I am behaving like that. That is why I am committed like that. Therefore, if you wish me to be a benevolent Samaritan, please make the world even. Please make the world disciplined. Please make the world morally integrated, otherwise I can't. So much so, we have different plans and different kind of projections and future planning to make the world balanced and world flat, world very trained and very full with infrastructure. But here it's a radical change or radical challenge for each and every person. External world by itself has no defilements. It has no titillations. It has nothing but your untrained mind or untrained faculties are the one, they are so callous or they are so thick in slicing the time, so they fail to understand what is coming from into the out and what is coming from out to the in. So therefore, by observing that kind of thing, it appears like an enormous task. Something like unachievable, because it appears like so profound, it appears like so involved. But in order to make it little easier and feasible, I would like to cite yet another discourse from the Samyutta Nikaya, the concise discourses appear in the Salayatana Vagga, known as, sometimes it's famous sutta, known as Malunke Putta Sutta. The Malunke Putta Sutta, it's the case history goes like that. Malunke Putta used to be a very elderly person, became a monk, and he goes to the Buddha and asks, Bhante, I am going to take a secluded retreat and isolated and ardent, I will practice it. Before going into that retreat, would you mind to give me a subject, or meditative subject, or kammatthana, or meditation, instructions, so that I can go there and be isolated. Then at the beginning, Buddha is retaliating, telling that I have given already what I should give, and still you come and ask specific favors. So this is the way you are troubling me, like Buddha is asking, giving kind of a this thing. But even then, he was so begging, he asked, oh Malukya, then I have to ask some question from you, answer me in a suitable way as you find fit. Then he says, if there are any visual object you have never seen, and we are not looking at also, and or you are not looking and you are not seeing also, and it will not be seeing in future also. And with that kind of visual object, may there be any kind of desire or lust or any kind of affection for that kind of visual object. That Malukya is telling no. If a visual object has not seen, now you are also not looking, and it is not happening to see, and in future also it is not going to happen. Under such circumstances, such an object will never give any kind of a chando, rago, alayo, that means any desire or lust or any kind of affection. Then there is a kind of a sound that you have never heard. Now you are listening, not listening also. It is not happening to listen also. In future also, it is not going to happen. With that kind of music or sound, will there be any kind of a defilement or any desire or any lust or any affection? No. Then he keep on asking, any smell, or any taste, or any touch, or any kind of thinking, not happen past, now also not intentionally doing it, passively also not interacting with you now, and in future also not going to happen. If it is not so, there's no defilement. So, it goes without telling, whatever you are seeing here and now is the only one going to give defilements. So if you are minding your own business now, the problem is solved. Not related with the past, not related with the future. So to bring the attention to the present moment, the total attention, the concentration, one-pointedness, the mindfulness is the most proximate factor. So, yet another thing another remark you have to make it in your mind. Whenever the seeing happens, the operation is very swift, very difficult to thin slice the time. Because it's very tricky. Most of our defilements coming through our eye within the day. That is why we call whatever may be lovable thing, we call just like my eye or apple of eye. Because this is the most defiling thing within the day, within our life. So whenever someone's eyes go blind, it's a hell of a loss. Because we are losing our quota of defilements. And next is the ear. Whenever the eye is not going to catch the opportunity, then only the ear is going to get the chance. And ear is runners up. Is waiting for the chance whenever the eye is losing. And then the nose, then the tongue, and the last is the body. Body is the part happening in a rather slow manner and digestible manner. That is why the Buddha says, for the beginner, start with the body, the tactile sensation, and that is verifiable, that is easy to tackle. So in the Kayanupassana, contemplation on the body, we develop mindfulness, taking the materiality as such. And when we keep on doing, at a time, when the mindfulness catch its momentum together with the in-breath and out-breath, you are bound to listen some sounds in the meditation cushion while you are sitting, and maybe some thinking, maybe some bodily sensation. When and where happens, you can understand how the attention is drawn from one to the other, and do you have any controllability, maneuverability or steering power to keep the attention only with the breath, or will it go to the other objects? If it is happening, does it happen due to your volition or with your intention, or it is going against your intention? So definitely those who try to keep the concentration intact, mindfulness consistent and steadfast, he or she will not be happy that mind is wavering from the thinking to feeling to the hearing to the breath. Try to keep as much as possible with the breath. Under such circumstances, that to take the control up to the yogi's or practitioner's hand, we employ this vitakka vichara, the applying thought and the inquiring thoughts. So, as far as we are applying it, the plane is under the captain's control. So, when you realize, when you understand, when you get the tactic, when you get the ways and means, you know when there's such a big amount of influxes are there, many objects like sounds, the pains and the thoughts, how to keep the track with the breath or face to face with the breath. And when that happens, you get a better chance to get the natural characteristics of the in-breath versus out-breath. The beginning of the in-breath versus the middle of the in-breath versus the end of the in-breath. And the gap. And the beginning, the middle and the end of the out-breath. So you employ the inquiring thought also. Discursive thoughts also. When this is happening, you are fairly sure mind is not wandering off, even though that kind of invitations are there. But whenever the mind becomes unmindful, not negligent to understand this, or not vigilant, then the sounds will take the upper hand, or thinking will take upper hand, or pains will take. Ultimately, you come to know after a long time that you are not mindful, mind is wandering and going astray. And then again you have to employ this vitakka vichara or noting and labeling in order to keep the track with. After a while, once the mind familiarizes with the in-breath and out-breath for a longer time, then even without any applying thoughts, you can keep it with, and the distance between the object of meditation and the noting mind become closer and closer, and when they come to the proximity, you develop kind of electromagnetic field, and you are sure, predictably, you can say, now my mind is face to face with the object, even the sound happens, even the thought happens, even the pain happens. I get a distance from these other faculties, and you can have a continuity with the in-breath and out-breath, and their breath also becomes subtle, and you can go into the situation as if the mind and the object of meditation merging each other. That merging is the one usually in the concentration meditation or samatha bhavana we call the first jhana. But in the vipassana also, when you push and go closer to the primary object, you start to feel as if you are entering, as if you are plunging into, penetrating into the object like. And then onward, you can make sure there are no much of distractions from thoughts, sounds and the pains. That does not indicate they are not existing. Definitely you can feel after a while, once you familiarize, there are sensations to say that you are living, the body is there. And there are some sensations to say that there are sounds in the background. And there may be some the inner thoughts, but you feel secure. And there you can understand if the vitakka vichara or the adverting of the mind is resolute and the mindfulness is intact and the concentration is there, that your track is assured. Otherwise, it is not under control. With that kind of training, with that kind of understanding, when you go to walking meditation, the visual objects also come and fight, sounds are there, thoughts are there, all the kind of there. So whenever you master, you keep the track with the left leg, left leg, right leg, you can ward off, you can do away with all the distractions. But whenever the mindfulness become weak and the mind become going towards the varietal entertainment, and then again the thought will come and distract you, the sounds, the visual object come and distract. And there I would like to highlight some points maybe that may be helpful for you to develop this steadfast mindfulness. For example, when you are walking in the middle of your walking path, not at the corners, when you are going there, at times you feel while you are keeping the track with the left leg, right leg, right leg in your normal pace, there are a lot of thoughts, inner thoughts at the doorstep about to keep the one leg in. And there you are worrying if you are not instructed well and if you are not prepared. Am I thinking or am I really with the in-breath and out-breath? Sorry, left and the right. So there if you keep on reiterating the vitakka vichara, left, right, so much so you can keep these thoughts away and still keep and balance with the right leg and the left leg. But sometimes the thoughts are creeping in. And there you have a hazy mind, bewildered mind, so you don't know what to do. And there you can develop the mastery, if you have the mastery about the applying thoughts. If you keep on noting the left, right, again you can go to the left and the right, and whenever it become weaker, the thoughts are going to creep in. And there you can understand there's a kind of a mastery, kind of a preparedness if you have, you can sort it out, but if you are not prepared, the thoughts are going to take the upper hand. We'll say now you gain the balance. And then with noting or without noting, you manage to keep the right leg and left leg. And if you sharply observe, still the thoughts are there. They are called inner thoughts. They become trained thoughts or chain thoughts whenever you pay attention to the thoughts. Immediately you are skip off from the left and the right. So this is a very hilariating kind of experience. You are meddling with defilements, but learning, if you are paying any attention to the thought, they are ready to come as a train. And it is meaningful. And then you will be taken for a ride. Knowing that if you keep the track with the left, right, the thoughts are there, but it is not become trained thoughts, have no meaning, so easily you are the winner. So there you can understand, even the thoughts are there, how to not to react and not to make a problem out of that. That is a kind of a way of tackling. It's rather, we can say, the equanimity towards thoughts. You must not, under such circumstances, it is very easy to draw this conclusion, you must not expect a mind without a thought. A thought and the mind is something like the water and its waves. Whenever the water body is there are waves. The mind and mental factors are like water and the water body, the waves. So there are thoughts. But it's a matter, if you are concerned about that, definitely thought will be a distraction. But if you know how to keep the track with your primary object, give the priority, give the diligence, and then thought will abort then and there. Your attention is the only one inviting thoughts to come and play hell. But if you know how to maintain the attention on your in-breath and out-breath, you can understand at a time you are walking on a carpet of thoughts. Easily you can walk without getting smeared, without getting hooked up. So there you feel hilarious. You feel like as if rain is there. You are walking. If you wish, it won't get wet. If you wish, you can get wet. This is the kind of miracle the Buddha played. First time he paid visit to his relatives. It is called Pokuruvasa in Pali. And he told, now there's rain going to happen. Those who wish, go to the rain, and if they wish, they can get wet. If they are determined to not to wet, won't. It's a miracle. Exactly like you can play this miracle with proper noting. And there you can understand thoughts are always there. Unless you trouble them, therefore don't trouble, still troubles you. Exactly the same in the sounds. Analyzing that, one of the Westerners, they used to say, sounds never distract you, you are the one distracting sounds. Everywhere sounds are there. And the pains also. The living body is an ocean of pain. But if you are going to poke fingers with the pain, they will develop into a body, and that will be a agglomeration of feelings. But if you don't care about that, as much as they are not excruciating, unbearable, and you have to understand, without that there is no progress. And the day you understand this, you will see these distractions are the one helping you to make the mindfulness steadfast, make your immunity high, make you more rich with ways and means. So their own word, even the world is rugged, even the world is haphazard, you know how to run a smooth journey. So this is a very starting point of how to balance the equanimity in the vicious world. And the vicissitudes of the faculties, the situation, but you know how to balance the equipoised mind. So when that situation, the walking in the middle area, when you go to the end, definitely you will be challenged more with the sounds, more with the visual objects, and changing of your posture, maintenance with the mindfulness, the right hand leg and everything. And they are, if you get the proper lesson in the middle of your walking path, you will go prepared, thinking that more and more challenges are there. How can I secure my already earned mindfulness? The moment you turn without a distraction, you will understand it is not the strength or quality of the distraction, it's a matter of your discipline, your mindfulness, or your diligence and vigilance. And one or two, that kind of experiment, that kind of happening, going to happen, your mind still develop kind of desire to go more risky things. Under very tricky, very challenging, very throbbing situation, can I maintain the balance? Just like tightrope walking. You take 2 umbrellas into your hand and walk. More and more you go to the middle, the rope is more and more wavery. But that is the magic. That is the thing people wish to see, and that is the one you also wish to do. So at the early part of the rope, it's much tied to the poles, therefore no much of shaky. When you go middle, it is shaky, and it is the magic, it is the exercise. Exactly the way from sitting meditation to the walking meditation, more and more distractions are going to happen. But take it as an exercise, and when you go from day to day, from walking to the day-to-day activities, still more. And from the day-to-day activities in the monastery, you go back home, and so much of challenges. And within that, if you can maintain this mindfulness, the Buddha says, the ditte ditte mattam bhavisati, sute sutta mattam bhavisati, mute mutta mattam bhavisati, viññāte viññāta mattam bhavisati. It's naturally seeing stop at seeing. In the nature, hearing stops at the stop hearing. All the other tactile sensations stop at that level, thinking stop at that level. Knowing that, train yourself to stop the seeing at the seeing. Don't try to proliferate. Don't try to interpret. Don't try to mingle with or play with seeing. And if you can stop at that level, that is exactly one, express it the other way. Even though you are an eyed person, behave like a blind person so that you are not reacting. Or your eye use as a camera, no interpretations. Just observe it and that's enough. Use the ear as a recording machine. It has no sensation, it has no editing it can do. Stop at that level. All the others also, in the nature, it is the way it happens, unless otherwise your sensations, your perceptions, your volitional involvement happens, that is what is going to happen. So once you go to the training in insight meditation, at the peak, what they do is the stop at the phenomena as and when it happens. So often I cite an example, that last time also I did the same mistake, but I am going to talk about cricket. But in Minnesota and other countries, the cricket is not the favorite game. But anyway, the Sri Lanka is cricket fans. So when the cricket happens, usually two umpires are there, the main umpire and the leg umpire. And they are making a decision then and there. Otherwise, you can't run the game. So in about a decade before, each and every decision passed by the umpire is being challenged, telling that he has a human error, he has given a biased decision. So ultimately, it's a hell of a decision to continue the cricket. Ultimately, so much of complaints went to the CCC, and cases are going on. One of the Sri Lankans suggested a third umpire, that's a video camera. It has been accepted now. Now what is happening is, whenever the match is started, there are a number of vantage points where cameras are fixed, and throughout it is being filmed. So if someone is challenging, it's a matter of action replay, slow motion, you can fix the clip and see what is happening. And since it is not a human, no one can challenge the video clip. No interpretation. It is just stop at that filming. So therefore the home party, home team or visiting team can't say that it has been filmed in wrong way. Never happened. So that is exactly, the Buddha says, use your eye in such a way, don't let the mind to come and play, grapple with, and to going to give free opinions or free interpretation, then that is the point you are losing the track. You are make it artificial. You are adding more and more defilements. So therefore, if you can see that how it happens, I think that is the most electric thing one can understand, and definitely I will challenge you, even if you have to understand, you won't believe it. Because you are believing the consent. You think that content is correct. It is happening with full of observation. But definitely you can say your observation is always less than 50. Of course, it is pathetically less than 50. For example, in a given situation, you can comprehend the situation by seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching and thinking. But we have already came to know, whenever the situation is going to comprehend by seeing, that very seeing is blocking all the other 5. It is dominating. So therefore, seeing means you are losing the chance to hear. You are losing the chance to smell, taste, touch and think. And this very seeing is blowing up into such a situation, is going to interpret, I have seen everything like. That is what we call mental proliferation. When the mental proliferation happens, you are definitely going to back it, going to second it, without the advice of the Buddha, without the advice of the Venerable Sariputta. So this is, instead of vehemently go and blindfoldly suggesting, just observe the prolific ideas and the commentaries and the consents free of charge coming out of this each and every moment, uninvited, and that is camouflaging everything, inundating everything, and you are blindly safeguarding it. Ultimately you have to bear the cost. You get committed. So that is the point where, the break-even point where you are going to use the mindfulness and the concentration to see we are comprehending the situation, apprehending the situation only by 1/6. And later, immediately that we think, no, I have seen, I have heard, I have smelled, everything is happening like, because our mind is so swift. So unless otherwise you know the art of thin slicing of the time and see how much our mind is interpreting and proliferating, you won't believe the speed it happens. The very first moment, you are to challenge your own interpretation. You are to challenge your own conclusion. You are to challenge your own judgment. You will stop complaining others. Till that you find fault with others, telling your judgment is wrong, your judgment is partial, your judgment is not correct, and that is because you have not seen throughout the life, you have done the same bad game. The first time you try to see it, you have enormous sympathy towards other beings. As far as they are not mindful, as far as they are not restraining themselves, what the benefit or what the welfare, well-being they can do by themselves. They are completely depending on the extrovert knowledge, always try to adjust the external world, never restraining themselves, and therefore naturally they are finding fault with others. But the yogi, the practitioner, with the help of all the Dhamma or the teaching, with the help of your all trial and error, with the help of your mindfulness and the preparedness, one day you will come to know, when we are making a decision, how partial we are, how partial our knowledge is. So therefore, even the meditative experience you are going to get, for example, the very subtle breath, or very light and light perception, or the equilibrium, or the contentment. The Buddha says, never arrive at a decision, let it happen in 1001 times. If it is the correct cause and effect relationship, it has to happen. While happening only, the confirmation can come to be. That is why the Buddha says, bhave asevati, bhaveti bahuli karoti. Asevati means at the first time you are familiarizing it. It is electric, it is very hilariating and it is very good. And then you become very excited. What is this and all the kind of thing. But the Buddha says, even if you do not have a profession teacher or advanced yogi, what you have to do is facilitate the same situation to happen again and again and again. When it is happening, it is not much exciting. It is not much pushing you there. You can see yourself. And more you go there, you see the cause and effect relationship. If the causative factors are fulfilled, the effect is there. Whether ego is there or omnipresent God was there, or your ego, self is there, it is immaterial. It's a mere cause and effect relationship. And your excitement is due to your ignorance, your lack of experience, and the immaturity. I mean, it is not a crime. It is usually happening. But don't make it a hindrance for your meditation to progress. If one thing can happen once, it is matter of giving the facilities to happen in again and again. Definitely, ultimately, it will precipitate in your experience, so that no much of novelty, no much of excitement, it will draw its due conclusion. So what happens is, you have to understand this materiality or this agglomeration called perception or feelings or mental formations or mind. Everything is so electric, happening then and there, unless otherwise you cut the time into thin slices. Otherwise it appears like a chanting in the time dimension. Immediately the space come into being. You become a being trapped in this space and time because of the inefficiency to cut this time into thin slices. So mindfulness is the technique you are employing again and again. It is like a sharpening of a barber knife that you have to keep on wiping. And then only it comes to the proper sharpening. And then onward you can cut, you can shave, only the hairs will cut without damaging the skin. Otherwise it is not. So therefore, the Venerable Sariputta here says, the moment you try to understand, whenever the seeing happens, the visual object, the feeling, the perception and the volitional activities and the mind is then and there arising, that is the way the arising of the suffering. And if you are going to develop any kind of a desire or lust or affection to the thing that you have seen, that you are proliferating the suffering, continuity of the suffering. So therefore, if you can stop by looking at the object and not to create any affection, not to create any liking or disliking, then you are then and there, you are getting a momentary emancipation. That momentary emancipation is a very common thing in the world. Otherwise we can't live this life. And that is a kind of thing happening in our sleep. If you have insomnia, that is a hell of a life. You can't live. That's the way we do the balancing of our account. So in the meditation also, when the object becomes very subtle, but still if you are not challenging and go there, there's a kind of reconciliation going to take place, and that is the point you can understand the way the materiality come into being. The feeling, the perception is decided by your adverting of the mind, and if you are not committing and observing it, you can see the potential is fully available, but you are not committed, so much so you are protected. This I am again and again telling, this is not a thing you have to do throughout your life. This is like when you are walking in a darkness, in a clouded night, you don't know where you are going, your directions and everything. All of a sudden, a lightening happens. Then you can understand where are you going and what is next. But next moment it is not there, but anyway that lightning is kind of an eye-opener. So likewise in the meditation, there are some quick enlightenment or quick awakening happens, and that indicates you have the potential. So then onward what you have to do is give the most conducive conditions and regular practice so that it can happen again and again. There only you get the confirmation, reification, and understand by practicing again and again or seasoning again and again, you develop the confidence. So that is how the Buddha himself did it. And at the early stages of quick meditative experiences, you become of course encouraged and going on, but to have it happen, to have to it again and again, you have to develop your own common sense and practice again and again. They are the day you understand everything is impromptu, improvised, and therefore if you keep the mind alert and prepared with mindfulness, you are the master. If you do not understand this, then and there rising of the five aggregates, and if the mind is not prepared, definitely they are going to take the upper hand. You have to suffer a loss. So the way out is, whatever the thing you are going to see, they can't defile you unless otherwise you develop the liking and disliking. Whatever the thing you are going to listen, they by themselves have no any defilements, the way you develop the liking and disliking. And the smelling, tasting, touching, and the thinking. So therefore, there's nothing to react towards the visual objects or to desire visual object thinking they are on good and the bad. The sounds, everything. So therefore, under the given circumstances, you have nothing lacking for this experimenting. And once you got the real formula or real understanding, not a single power in this world to prevent you. No one can tell you that you can. I will prevent you from being mindful. I will prevent you from being diligent. Your very disqualification of yourself, your inferior kind of judgment, or sometimes maybe superior, is the one dislodging you, deranging you. So moment you come to know being a human is such a blessing and endowment during the time of the dispensation of the Buddha. Under these two coincidences, each and every moment is precious. There is no special gift when you come to the retreats. There is no special place in India. There is no special place in other sacred places. Each and every moment is there. And being that you have eye, ear, nose, tongue and everything intact, that's also very good achievement. And with that kind of all the endowment, you have to listen to Dhamma, associate good friends, and dedicate yourself. And when slowly it's going to happen, there is no other way to accelerate it other than accumulating in the each and every moment with the mindfulness. You can then understand how much your influxes, how much your underlying tendencies, undercurrent tendencies are oozing out value judgments. Don't hate even then, but just see the mechanism. Then you can question whether these value judgments are for your well-being. They will come and say, definitely it is for your economic, social and political well-being, but ultimately you will be a slave towards them, but no emancipation. So therefore, even it happened in the free of charge, you have to question them, or to challenge them and ask them to do away with that. And just be a seer, just like a blind. No reaction, as if a blind. And stop the seeing at seeing, and hearing at the hearing, and other tactile sensation as such, and thinking as such. Then you have the clutch and the brake in your vehicle. If there is no clutch and the brake, it's dangerous to run this vehicle. But throughout, we somehow or the other manage in the samsara. But this new technique of mindfulness and the diligence should not make any complication to the already driven machine. It must be really a least frictional way. So more and more you practice, the moment you understand then and there arising of these 5 aggregates, that is what the real crux of Dhamma. And if you are to see Dhamma, see this dependent origination. Whenever you see the dependent origination, you see Dhamma, and that is the where you see the truth of suffering as such. The way the Buddha sees the truth of suffering is exactly the way you are going to see. And when and where you see it, you see how the attachment or desire or the hatred invariably come and make the cause for suffering. But the day you separate them out, that is what we call the emancipation. And the pathway for that, definitely we will discuss little in bit detail. Pathway you can predict, not the predict, you can declare once you achieve the emancipation, not before that. Till that you are trying to do trial and error. The day you come, then you can say, this is the correct path, this is the point where I tapped in the proper way, it became the path. So therefore, in the organization of Four Noble Truths, Buddha has given the suffering and the cause of suffering, and the emancipation and the cause for emancipation and the pathway to the emancipation. So therefore, there is no set assimilated paths. You can't go and ask from the supermarket. You have to assimilate then and there. Until the last moment, it's a trial and error. That is common for even to the Buddha, even for everyone. So therefore, we all lie in the same boat, but they develop the confidence based upon your own mistakes, and trust the very mindfulness, and it will push slowly, as I mentioned in the beginning. It's a painfully slow at the beginning. Once catch the momentum, you can't stop it. It is the snowballing effect. Keep on going up to the confirming your own pathway of liberation, and then only you can share with the others. This is what it worked with me, but I can share with you. You have to assimilate your own path. And that is how this, for the last 2,600 years, it came undisturbed. So therefore, in a way, when we are practicing and understanding, we are understanding the human mind, not our limited mind. And once we understood, it is very difficult to keep it as a secret. It naturally overflows. And that is how we are helping the dispensation at large. And it appears like we are coming to a retreat and cut off from the world and minding our own business and appear like very selfish. But more and more your understanding happen. It has its own universal way of, telepathic way of sharing with the other. So therefore, until you come up to a certain satisfaction or saturation, don't worry about that. Your contribution to the world, it is going to happen. It is happening in the universal law, natural law. So therefore, each and every little bit of understanding is a huge contribution to the humanity. So don't consider it as a private business, but you have to protect, you have to strive, you have to endure with your all the private capacities. And when you go there, the understanding of Four Noble Truths, even though explain it in a sequential manner, is happening at everything at a time. There is no gap between understanding the truth of suffering and the cause of suffering. And there is no gap between the understanding the cause of suffering and the emancipation. And there is no gap between from the emancipation to pathway leading to the emancipation. So these things are happening. So accumulation happen in a gradual way. That is why we can talk, that is why we can discuss. So I hope this is also this information helpful for you to develop the self-confidence and keep on so that one day you will hit the target. Thank you very much for listening. No, today we have a full dinner. Right? This is the answered questions. And yeah. Just small letters. Okay, I will go on that. No problem of rejecting one or two. Dear Bhante, you have explained how the Vitakka Vichara tool could be used to observe primary object. When those drops, what tool is used to observe the primary object? So this is a good way of understanding the functions of Vitakka Vichara. This is called the acceleration. This is called the momentum. Once the momentum taken, it carries. For example, when you are learning how to ride a push bike, at the beginning very difficult to keep the bike balanced and get the momentum. Until that you have to have a second person or you have to keep the legs down, and ultimately you gather a certain amount of momentum, then onward it is becoming a magic. Bicycle never falls. You can run. And you are not worrying about how to keep it balanced. Because after a certain momentum, it gathers exactly the way at the beginning, daily start like a beginner. Do with the help of the Vitakka Vichara. And once it is getting the momentum, you can see that the object of meditation is face to face. And when that happens, let the balance to take its own control, and then the momentum will take care. So this the momentum is a completely a different phenomena than the individual pieces of the energies. That is how the new technologies are developing. When the generator is running up to the 1,500 rounds per minute, it won't create 230 current or 110 current. So therefore, up to that point, you are not connecting to the main switch. You let the generator run, and it come up to the certain the proper RPM, and then it is constantly making 110 or 230. And then you switch on to the main switch, and then the system running. So exactly the way the Vitakka Vichara is gathering the momentum, and then it makes the necessary electromagnetic field that I call it as the momentum. And once the momentum comes, and for example that if you have the common experience of driving a car, and if you can remember the very first day when you go to the learning process of the driving, and how much difficult for you to engine is running, how to engage the first gear and to set the vehicle moving without knocking. Very slowly you have to give the gas and release the clutch, and then only slowly it start the picking. And if you're going to give the clutch faster and then knock and stop. And then first day it's a big achievement. Big achievement. Now you can move the heap of iron in the momentum. And then the person will come and say, okay, now you know it, and now you have to go into the second gear. What to do? You give a little gas, release the clutch, and engage the second gear without jamming each other, and then release the clutch, and then again knocking. Then again either jumping up. And after a few trial and error, you will come to know what is the momentum and what's the amount of gas you have to give from the first to the second. And second, third. Now when you starting the car, do you remember the first gear? The second gear? Auto gear is available, no problem. You don't know, it is automatically it goes to the top gear, you don't know. Then only you know you are in the highway, everything happen. How? Because daily you are doing, and when you are doing it is for the starting engine that you don't know. And engaging into the first gear, second gear, they are becoming a body knowledge. So exactly the way, but the thing is don't delay it till the deathbed. Don't delay the training at your old age or sickness, so therefore train it well before. So that will be ever in use. So therefore the Buddha says, learn it as early as possible, so throughout that investment going to help you. Therefore, the vitakka vichara, that applying thoughts and the discursive thought, at the beginning it's a very big business. But ultimately, you will come to know by your mere body knowledge going to happen. The best example I give is, for this vitakka vichara, it is maybe very preliminary kind of example for the country like this. But in Sri Lanka, we have Sunday fairs. And many people come together, they are coming with the selling goods and buying goods and many happening. So whenever there is that people bring the lorry loads of coconut nuts, and they wanted to give it to this person is asking 100, this person is asking 500, this person has 200. What they do is stop the vehicle and people are shouting and he start 1, 2, 3. Each time you could take 2 coconuts, hit each other, counting 1, and someone going to ask for another business. He says 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2. Then he says, mind your own business, I am now in the business. Don't talk now. Instead what he is doing is keep on counting. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. So he never missed the number. The other person has to know, now he is busy, so better not to talk other business. Once finished, he will say, 100 is finished, now what is your business? You need how much? Then start. This counting system is to keep engaged with this busy atmosphere, he never lose the track. So this is just a simple way of applying vitakka. Or
when we are, for the first time when we are riding a bike, we fall and gradually momentum come as you gave the example. So in that situation, some type of memory happening in our brain, like a special part in the brain, and that memory deposits there, and even after 50 years that comes back. So is that that type of learning and memory happens in this exercise also, mindfulness? And does it come even we do not practice after some time,
I asked the same question from Venerable Dhammika because I was practicing 1 hour, maybe 3 weeks time. I am very busy in the university and I have no time for regular practice. But while practicing, I feel the amount you invest, you get little, but next day everything gone. And 3 days I nothing. But when I am listening again, I see, do it again, never mind. Then I went and asked Bhante that it is like gathering frogs into an open pan. What you carry is jump off. Very difficult. So then I asked Bhante, I have my fair doubt because I am so engaged that I believe this system, but the amount of investment I do, no. Then he took me aside, he told, as far as the samatha meditation is concerned, the concentration meditation, if you lose, you lost. But the insight meditation is concerned, the mindfulness is concerned, even if you are to die, next life, this memory will come and help you. It is ever gathering. Of course, there is a kind of development of weeds and kind of thing happens when the crop is not growing. But easily you can clean it off, that it will come and help you. So therefore the Buddha says this is the best companion for your sansaric journey. It never despite you. Even if you despite the mindfulness, the amount you develop is ever behind to help you. So therefore the Buddha says, Karaniya matta kusalena yantan santam padang abhisamicca sakko ujuca sujuca. He says, if you have any self-love, well-being to you, be mindful. All the others are questionable. But the very mindfulness, it's definitely taking care. But sorry, in the present day, we are believing on insurance, money, all the kind of thing. Ultimately, what happens? What happened to the economy of this country? All collapse. All the economic formulas with the coming out of the golden brains and kind of everything collapse. No one can answer why the petrol price goes down and the iron price goes down. Who the hell can explain it? But the mindfulness, once you develop, that will never look away. So therefore, mind your own business. Simply that is the answer. ඉතින් සිංහල හාමුදුරුවෝ හෙට අපිව දාලා යනවා. සිංහලේ ලස්සන කියන්න දානවා. මේ භාවනා ඒ තරම් ලේසි නෑ. පුළුවන් නම් ඊට සහැල්ලු සිංහලෙන් කියන්න අපිට අමතක නොවන ආවාදයක්. අපේ මනස මිනිත්තු 5ක්වත් එක තැනක තියාගන්න ක්‍රමයක්. Mind your own business. That's the shortest way, even if it is in English. තම තමන්ගේ වැඩක් බලා ගන්න. එච්චර. තම තමන්ගේ වැඩක් බලන්න. ඔය අම්මා ඉන්නවා, තාත්තා ඉන්නවා, නංගි ඉන්නවා, රට තියෙනවා, ජාතිය තියෙනවා, සේරම හුරතල් විතරයි. ගණන්කාරකම්, හයිය තියෙනකම්, නම්බුකාරකම්, සල්ලි තියෙනකම්, ආඩම්බරකම්, නිලේ තියෙනකම්, මේ ඔක්කොමකම් මෙලවින් යනකම්. තම තමන්ගේ වැඩක් බලා ගන්න. මේක නිකන් අර බැඳපු නැති මම කියන කතාවක් කියලා හිතන්න එපා. මේ බුදුහාමුදුරුවෝ කියලා තියෙනවා. ඕගොල්ලෝ කොච්චර ප්‍රේම කරත් ඔය කියන එකම ප්‍රේම කරන කෙනෙක්වත් ඕගොල්ලෝ කන්ට අපව ප්‍රේම කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක ඉතින් මම 100 200 සහතික කරලා කියන්නේ. එදාට ඕගොල්ලන්ට වහ කණ්ඩ වෙන්නේ. ඔය හිතාගෙන ඉන්න කිසිම තැනකින් ප්‍රේමේ හම්බ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හම්බ වෙන්නේ නොහිතපු තැනකින්. ඒ නිසා ඕක කරන වැඩේ නතර කරන්නත් එපා. ඔය කරන හැබැයි කවදාක රිටර්න් එකක් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්න එපා. වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක 100 200ක් ෂුවර්. නමුත් ඒ කරන සේවය නතර කරන්න එපා. කරගෙන යන්න ඒක මේ අපි කරන අපේ කර්ම ගෙවිලා දෙමිලක් කරනවා. ඒක 100%ක්ම හිතලා කරන්න. ඒ බලාපොරොත්තු ඇති වුණොත් එච්චර කැත වැඩක් නෑ අපේ ජීවිතේ. අර එක්කෙනෙක් කියලා තියෙනවා මේ ජීසස් ක්‍රයිස්ට් කියලා ජීවිතේ හරියම ලස්සනයි කියලා. අන්තිමේදී කුරුසියේදී එන ගැහුවට පස්සේ ඕ පියාණෙනි මාව පාවා දුන්නද කියලා ඇහුවලු. ඒ වචනේ නොකියුවා නම් කොච්චර ලස්සනද කියලා න ජීවිතේ. එතින්දී තාත්තව ක්වෙස්චන් කරා යා. එතකම්ම නෑ. එතකම්ම මුළු ජීවිතේදීම කවදාකවත් නෑ full devoted life. අන්තිමට oh father you betrayed me. ඒ වචනේදී මිනිහාර ගෙනාවු ගමන ඔක්කොම තියෙන ලස්සන ඉවර වුණා. ඒ කරන්න තියෙන උපරිම සේවය කරන්න තියෙන කම්බයක්වත් අඩු කරන්න බෑ. හැබැයි බැරි වෙලාවක්වත් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්න එපා. ඔය පැත්තෙන් හොඳක් නා. ඒක බලාපොරොත්තු සුන්වන්න දෙයක්. ඒක මේ මොනවද කියන්නේ? තිත්ත බේතක්. විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ කාන්තාපක්ෂයේද. ඒකල බොහොම හිතාන ඉන්නේ අම්බේ මේ තියෙන ඔක්කොම ප්‍රේමේ ඔක්කොම වට කරගෙන එයි කියලා. මං කියන්නේ එහෙම මේ පිරිමි නෑ කියලා පිරිමිත් ඉන්නවා. නමුත් ඒ නිසා ওই වැඩ ටික කරන්ඩ සේවය කිරීමක් පමණයි. උඹෙන් කරන්න ඕන දේ උඹෙන් කරපන්. උඹෙන් රටට මිසක් පුතේ රටෙන් උඹට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්න එපා කියලා කැනඩි පටන් අරගත්තේ මේ ආර්ථිකේ. උඹෙන් කරන්න ඕන සේවය රටට කරපන්. හැබැයි රටෙන් මට ආර්කමේක හම්බෙන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මට බෑ ජනතිපතිතුමා කරන්න. ඒ නිසා ධර්ම වෙනුවෙන් කරන්න, ජාති වෙනුවෙන් කරන්න, ආගම වෙනුවෙන් කරන්න, නායදෑම වෙනුවෙන් කරන්න. හැබැයි කිසිම දෙයක් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන එකම දේ ඔය තමන්ගේ mindfulness එක විතරයි. Then again a English question. Mante, please explain how to develop breathing awareness meditation into 4 types of satipatthana, especially giving attention Chittanupassana and Dhammanupassana. This is a valid question because I try to explain according to as the time permits. Whenever the breath, as the materiality is concerned, when it calm down, when it is becomes subtle and subtle, how the rapture arises, how the gladness arises, how the happiness arises, and not to get attached into that. That is how the Kayanupassana is leading to Vedananupassana, the feelings. And then the Chittanupassana, in Anapanasati Sutta, it explained in another tetrad. It's 4 tetrads are there. First 4 is for the Kayanupassana, second tetrad Vedananupassana, fourth one is Chittanupassana. Chitta parisangvedi asasi samiti sikkati, abhipamodayan chittang asasi sami sikkati, samadhan chittang asasi samiti sikkati. Likewise, the Buddha says that the moment you master the materiality and the feelings, you feel just the blank mind. You just feel just the nothingness. It's a chitta parisangvedi. Appear like the mind exists without materiality. Like it is completely mind-made. Don't question it. And if you are managing to that, then come the abhipamodayan chittang attipramodaya. It is inhuman kind of a pleasure, happiness going to happen. And samadhahang chittang, then you understand when you come up to that kind of calibration, how to maintain it for long. And that is how the Chittanupassana, once that is finished only, Aniccanupassi, Viraganupassi, Nirodhanupassi, Patinissagganupassi, then only you are going to see the transient nature of the phenomena. Till that, you based upon the phenomena just like a hard strata where you can peg, you can have orientation. But over there you understand it is muddy or it is just volatile. There is no place to have your peg. And it's so volatile. That is how the Aniccanupassi is going to happen. And there you have no any loosening of your heart. You know what is anicca here is the suffering is anicca. The very suffering that you are hugging and telling that I am suffering, it is anicca. All the pains are bound to arise, bound to go. All your the remorse, all your anxiety, all your the panic and everything, and that is what the majority, they are transient. So you will be happy to see that all the negative things are transient. And the negative things, don't hug them, thinking that I am inferior, I am the most unfortunate person in the world, I am the person get that disease, and that all the kind of thing. You are the very person hugging. Let them go. And that letting go is the Dhammanupassana. So therefore this is asking a summary on the Anapanasati Sutta. So I kindly advise, in the internet you can get down this Anapanasati Sutta, specifically in the Sinhala this thing. I have done it for and the Brahmans also.
Right.
And so I myself has given 30 odd number of talks. So that will help, that will give one by one how the breath meditation is related to the Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, Dhammanupassana. It is very systematic. More than Satipatthana Sutta, Anapanasati Sutta is very, for linear method, go deep and deep into the deep layers. In walking meditation, which is more important? Noting left leg, right leg, or noting lifting, moving, stepping, consciousness of the lifting, moving in air, settling down without any noting. So this is not the importance. The present day it is in a mixed up position. It always says you stand still and get. Now you are standing. That is the way you start the engine of the vehicle. And then the first gear means left, right, left, right, left, right. So you have to run the machine at the first gear to a certain extent before going to the second gear. Second gear is lifting, dropping. lifting, dropping. That is to say, left and the right means one step, one noting. The lifting, moving, lifting, dropping means one step, two moving, two notings. And once that is mastered, lifting, moving, dropping. So you have to go in the gear system. First gear to the second gear, the third gear. Then only the mindfulness can catch the momentum. But due to wrong introduction, many people right from the beginning start with the lifting, moving, dropping. So they are, that is, taking the medicine without the instructions of the doctor. So then doctor can't guarantee the results. So it has to be the amount and the time must be time specific and the dosage must be specific. So this is for the insight yogis. For the samatha yogis, only lifting and only left and right. They are not going for lifting, dropping, all the kind of things. So therefore, instructions are specific. So therefore, general instruction, they don't recommend lifting, dropping. They say just practice the left and the right, because you don't know whether you are samatha or vipassana. Only when you see the vipassana trends, then only go for further instructions to lifting, moving, dropping. And once you come up to the lifting, moving, dropping, and if still the mind is very vigilant, you can go intention to lifting and lifting, intention to moving and moving, intention to dropping and dropping. That is to say, first time you are introducing the mentality, the chetana, the intention to lifting and lifting. So this become all of a sudden it becomes 6. 1, 2, 3 and then 6. So therefore not the importance, this is the sequence.
Also look at the sensations of like the elements.
So that is the thing. But when you are keeping the right and the left, you can explain the right and left only in terms of elements. When you lifting, dropping, still you can go in detail, but still with the help of in terms of elements. When lifting, moving, dropping, still in terms of elements.
But after a while then, is it okay if you forget about the lifting, dropping and just don't label it, but look at the elements and you know that they are lifting, dropping?
Don't look at the element, but you can drop labeling. You can, vitakka vichara can drop. But still you are going on, you try to absorb as much as possible, because the fact is, when the elementary characteristic, the stiffness, tension, movement, they are coming in thousands. You can't keep and catch up with noting. You can't catch up with labeling because it is happening in thousands. So you have to keep the mind fully open to see, welcome everything, but don't try to pinpoint them and label them one by one. If that is the case, you are hindering its upcoming. So you are just naturally observing. No, that I heard there are some teachers are instructing, but the way that I presented instructions is, when you are walking, just go with the right and left. At the moment when you go to the lifting and dropping, or at the moment you go to the lifting, moving, dropping, sometimes it naturally synchronizes with the breath. If that is happening, let it happen, but don't do it. And the next example is, we'll say that you are going to do a routine work. You are chopping vegetables maybe, and at the beginning you try to be mindful with the chopping. And when you keep on doing, once it is familiarized, naturally the breath may come into being. If that is the case, you open the door, but don't start chopping vegetable with breathing. That is the only point. There you have to start with the particular intentional action. Once the intentional action becomes familiarized, then the breathing will happen due to your past familiarization, then no problem. Many people while driving also, and when we are becoming a passengers also, when you have a long trip, and after a while, at the beginning you start sitting, and all the kind of, then naturally the breathing going to happen, then no problem. But soon you go to the posture, Be aware of naturally the gross area of your posture and the action you do with the intention, and then naturally breath can come. Yeah, that is something called the shunting of the trains. In the trains, that if you have a lot of compartments and the engine coming and shunting there, and then you see the transmission of power, it go to the first, the compartment from the last. Exactly, this whole is compartments up to the atlas bone. And when you get the shock here, it's jumping slowly. Ultimately, you can feel in each step, each and every cell is expanding, each and every organ is going to get a massage. So some people feel here, some people feel at the knees, some people feel at the ankle, and some people specifically feel here. Each and every step is shaking. So that is how it is giving the exercise to the whole body. But at the beginning, gross level, you feel the touch of the ground. But we are really synchronized. You are not walking, but it is happening. You are just observing, then you can say each and every cell is taking part. Taking the joining with walking. If it is prominent, yes. If it is prominent by itself, but don't go in search of. Naturally it happens. Reverend sir, this is somewhat a personal question. You said you have meditated for 34 years. Did you write book in this life itself after you attained Nibbana or some Maggapala like so on, etc.? Thank you very much. So this question going to happen, it seems, with a lot of talks in the, I don't know whether you have heard about Gurdjieff, the Russian person, Gurdjieff. And he went for the truth for 30 number of years, and 30 number of people went in search of the truth. They thought there's a one universal one religion, and then only the sectarianism happened. So they went in search of. Only Gurdjieff returned, all the other died. But he was fairly enlightened, and he used to give Dhamma, telling Dhamma from the other world. That's the way he gives. So audience come and ask, often they ask, are you talking what you are experiencing, or what is this? Then the Gurdjieff is asking, if I say yes or no, can you verify? Then what is the answer? What is the use of the answer? If you can't verify my answer, then whether I say yes or no, immaterial. So therefore mind your own business. Simple. So therefore that it is good when you are going to a hotel or something that you have to ask whether there's hygienically they are good or not. That's your part and partial. But we being monks, we are well safe. Buddha has mentioned not to go into this side. It's none of your business. The Buddha says, you just represent me. Don't show your personal qualities, even if you have. So therefore you can't understand whether he is enlightened or I enlightened. That are we both equal, are we both, that is none of the business. So keep the thing in the way so that the attention goes equally to the monks. Not you are selecting that the monk is enlightened, that monk is not. That is not the case. So therefore, you have rights to answer the question. I have my rights to not to. You have asked the rights to question, but I have my rights with the precepts of the Buddha not to answer it. So you have to sympathize me. Bhante, if I don't believe in rebirth, after all I don't know if there is rebirth for sure other than the Buddha's words. And I am able to let go of many things in life, fairly comfortable, organized, and attempts to be mindful in gazing day-to-day chances, day-to-day challenges in life. All I have to do is to accept that my body will die one day. Why bother about complete purity mind of defilements. So I can't find the relationship between the karma and karma theory and the end of the question. Why bother about complete purifying mind of defilements? So of course that there is no compulsory, no pressure. The second person can tell you that you must purify, you must get out of defilement. And you can sleep with your own defilement, no problem. But if you have the idea or challenge, how can I purify, then only we have to get together and find a way out. If someone is not worrying about, accept that my body will die one day, that is okay. That is, for my understanding, it is talking about the secular ethics. I am maintaining the secular ethics. Should I be religious or should I be spiritual? You can still better off. You are still better off by maintaining the secular ethics. But when you keep on practicing, time will come you to decide whether you will go for the transcendental kind of ethics or not. And the early part of it that if I don't believe the rebirth, and I am able to let go of many things in the life, fairly comfortable, organized, and attempts to be mindful in doing maybe day-to-day challenges in life. All I have to do is accept that my body will die one day. So even that knowing that you are not everlasting, at least the body is not everlasting, so therefore don't make grudge with the people, don't entertain jealous and envy and fighting, because they also die and you also die. Why should have? That also will give a kind of a social integrity. So I would say this is so the secular ethics. So that is a good thing for the as far as I have no ethics. And when we are practicing only, when the mind becomes refined further, then only the better options will going to happen. So for the moment, this is okay. Can continue further. Knowing the path and the milestones of the mindfulness journey, what are the pros and cons? Do you recommend reading books beforehand to know the path of mindfulness? As far as the latter part of the question is concerned, the theory knowledge is very important. So theory knowledge we can gain by listening or discussing or reading books and all the kind of thing. In my case, I was heavily depending on books. Of course, I had some spiritual friends, and we had the limited access to them and discourses and kind of thing. But reading, as far as I am coming from Sri Lanka, I'm sorry to say, most of the good books I read was written in English, specifically on mindfulness, because the books written in Sri Lankan language are a lot of gloss over with the faith and the religion and all the kind of thing. Hardly they are addressing to the topic. But whenever you go to the English book, it is short to the point, and no ism, no religion, but it's a science. So it was helpful for me. But later I came to understand that two limitations. One thing is, as a layperson, I can go to a certain extent and there onward, I have to make a decision. The second thing is, if you have to go furthering into the mindfulness, you have to learn Pali. The Pali is the one going to give the essence. But at the beginning, just English is enough. So therefore books, and now readers are lucky. I mean, in a sense, so much of books you don't know how to select it. But there are very nice books, few books now available. So they are directly talking on the mindfulness, and therefore the books are doing a good job in that sense. But there you have to have the selection. And as far as the pros and cons are concerned, In short, what I can do, what I can say is, before the mindfulness, your question is to understand the good and the bad. So therefore you have to understand the don'ts and do's in the particular society. Then accordingly that you have to recognize this is good, this is bad, and if you love yourself, if you have well-being to yourself, you have to select the good and leave it as the bad. Whenever you go to the mindfulness, you are challenging not with the good and the bad, you are challenged with the good and the better. But we are so conservative at the face of better, we are not giving up good. Then no one can save you. So mindfulness is going to give a more and more better options. When that happens, you must be an opportunist. Just to drop good in order to go to better. So they are the challenges. You have to understand the do's and don'ts, or pros and cons. Because we are so conservative. We are never radical. We are never going against the grain. That means we are foregoing our better chances. Power of Mindfulness. Power of Mindfulness by Venerable Jnanaponika. I can give you a list. And Mindfulness in Simple English by Bhante Gunratana. Plain English. And there are some Psychotherapy Without the Self by Mark Epstein. Thought Without a Thinker by Mark Epstein. And Full Catastrophic Living by John Kabat-Zinn. And so the Power of Mindfulness is a very straightforward, very short and sweet. But all the others have more flesh. John Kabat-Zinn and others, very thick books. So these books are really putting the crux of the teaching of the Buddha with lot of day-to-day experiences and lot of with the present day the problems. So they are really giving the highlighted value of the mindfulness. Mindfulness has a single simple technique, away from illusion, away from in a religious and spiritual part. So therefore, these are the things just come into my mind. And last time I went go to the Canada, I prepared the list with the Pannila, who is living in Toronto. And recently also one person asked me, so I got the list back, and I readjusted it, so I can send it. But this is my liking and disliking, so you have to sympathize me. Maybe I am recommending wrong things. So this is the way I am brought up in Sri Lanka, and I read Ken Wilber, the No Boundaries and kind of thing. So the Westerners, it may be not much bigger. And yet another book is The Beginner's Mind, Zen Mind by Suzuki. It's a very nice one. They are becoming classic-like, and so they are going to give a short to the point kind of answers regarding my.
Should I get it from Anila, or would you be sending?
You may send me an email, so I can send. Bhante, where can we find your travel schedule and the retreat schedule? Is it available online? Do you have any retreats during the month of July in Sri Lanka? So for this one, usually there's another gentleman who is in Sri Lanka. He has offered me, he is maintaining all the information, my personal information, and what you have to do is, if you can make a inquiry into my email address, I will direct into him, and then he can give me the timetable and the schedules and all the books that available in PDF, all the Dhamma talks, either Sinhala and English, and there's one website called vipassana.com, and there are 5 books available, all the talks like this, all are in English. So he can give you, or otherwise I can send you, but we have about 600 email list about the all the Dhamma lovers from the different parts of the world. So I have no time, but the other person that I mentioned, Aruna Manatunga, he has offered already, and he's full time helping it. So my email address is dhammajiva@gmail.com. Spelling for Dhammajiva is Dhammajiva. That is the only thing that quite not common, not quite normal. Dhammajiva and gmail.com. And whatever the inquiry is coming, if it is related to this kind of thing, I convert to the Aruna Manatunga. What is available, I directly can answer. And many meditation related questions also, but I am humbly asking, make the inquiry short. Don't write long accounts, because then either I postpone or I just ignore. Because of this thing. But if you can write short, I can answer. Daily I am taking, for last few days I have no connection because the center do not have. Otherwise, even if I am traveling, I have my netbook. Daily I am allocating 1 to 2 hours on email. Reverend Sir, is it natural to feel light-headed during meditation? Maybe sometimes you feel heaviness also. There is no such a universal character, you can say. The transient nature is the only universal character you may feel. And if it is light-headed, you must be opportunist to make use this chance and keep the object as long as possible, because other way, if it is going, it will be a distraction. So this is a good condition, and not all the time you can expect. Okay, that's all. I don't know whether we had some few questions written in small letters.
This
Morning I left aside. And,
they were in this basket. Yeah.
Okay. No, they are the big letters.
All of them from that.
Oh, okay. So they were all in this basket.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it was there.
Yeah.
They were able to get it.
Okay.